The two-day ceasefire extension between Israel and Hamas means more aid can get into Gaza. Hundreds of aid trucks have been entering the territory since the pause in fighting began, bringing new supplies of water, food, medicine, cooking fuel to the more than 2.3 million people who call the Gaza Strip home. But is it enough? Joseph Bellevue is the executive director of Doctors Without Border Canada, one of the organizations that is working to get aid into Gaza. He's joining us this morning. Great to speak to you this morning, Joseph.
Good morning, Anne-Marie. Thanks for having me.
The latest numbers we have is that on Sunday, the UN was able to distribute over 1,000 tons of food, 890 tons of bottled water to people in Gaza. They were able to deliver the first supplies of cooking gas into the territory since this war began weeks ago. Has your staff been able to get enough supplies to do the work that they need to during the ceasefire period?
Yeah, your overall question was, is it enough? The short answer to that is no, it's not enough. Certainly, these last few days have been super welcome, super encouraging. It's been a reprieve. So Doctors Without Borders, MSF, we have been able finally to evacuate a number of staff with their families from the north to the south. These are people who have been under bombardment, who have lost family members, who have lost colleagues, have been working under conditions of extreme duress in the hospitals in the north. The hospitals and the medical system in the north has become almost entirely dysfunctional over these past 7 weeks. So we were able to get a number of them from the north down to the south. You were just describing how a few hundreds of trucks have been able to get across the border at Rafah. Super, super welcome. Also, any amount of food. There's been some medical supplies on some of those vehicles. That's really welcome as well. But the conditions that my colleagues are describing now, pretty much all of our activities are now in the southern part, and they're just describing overwhelming situations in the hospitals. We haven't seen any mass casualties over the last days, so in that sense, this truce has held up, and that's a super welcome thing. So before we were seeing, a bomb would drop, and then some minutes later we would just see dozens or more severely injured people. We haven't seen that. What we have seen, however, is because of the reprieve, people have been able to move around a little bit more, and the medical facilities in the south are just inundated with that type of patients who couldn't move before, but now have been able to move.
Oh, that's really interesting. So within the hospitals themselves, I know there were earlier reporting that there wasn't enough anesthetic, so people were having to do surgeries or to go through things in pain. Is that still happening?
Yeah, our medics and doctors in Nasser Hospital is where we're doing the most surgical interventions and trauma work. We're also supporting, we've been able to kind of set up activities supporting a bunch of clinics as well. But indeed, our doctor colleagues are describing a severe shortage of basic items still. There are some, though, whereas before they were literally running out of the very most basics, painkillers and gauze and fluids and that sort of thing. And now there's a little bit of that, but they certainly are describing shortages. And there's just so many patients is what they're describing, just this kind of overwhelming. Yesterday, they had to close the emergency room for a period of time. So there were so many patients coming in that they literally couldn't do triage anymore and just had to close everything down for a period of time while they managed the number of injured people coming in. The emergency room is just working 24/7, doing as many surgeries as they can. My surgeon colleague was just describing very recently how they did a surgical intervention on a young child. And then when that child woke up from the anesthetic, the first thing, of course, a child will do is ask for their parents, for their mother and father. And they had to inform that child that their mother and father were no longer with us. And that's really devastating, and the mental health impact of this is also huge. A lot of the work we're doing is mental health related now too, in addition to the hard medical work that we're doing. So still a pretty dire situation, and if we this extra 2 days, super welcome, but if we don't get into a situation of a prolonged ceasefire, it's going to be still very limited what we're able to do.
Joseph Bellevue, I want to thank you for joining us this morning and for the work that you and your colleagues continue to do through this war. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Anne-Marie.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.